Hey, hi finishers. I'm Floyd Rosini, the journeyman's son. And today we're going to work on this beautiful mirror frame. It's a walnut frame. It looks like it's about from 1930. It's been well cared for. It looks like it has a lacquer finish on it, but it's got some chips along the top edge. It's got some paint marks on it, from when they might have painted the wall, and it's spritzed on it. And it's looks like it's been around and hasn't really been cleaned that well. I did a little cleaning on it earlier, and so I know what's on here, and I want to be able to show you. I'm going to clean the inside, and we'll clean some of these. I think there's a few little paint marks left. So I want to show you how to use my American Red 1 biodegradable cleaner, and I'm going to show you how to use the furniture preservative and rejuvenator. I'm going to show you how to use the rocket pad. This is pre-mixed French polish, and we're going to use the color box for doing some touch-up. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of sanding in these areas where it's chipped along the edge. So I'm going to glove up, and we're going to get started right away. I did put the mirror on some 2x4 so it would get it up off the bench so I could catch these edges down here when we're cleaning it. And I do want you to remember that I said I did some cleaning on it before, so I just want to be able to show you how to do this. Now, one of the things that I do is I spray the Rosini's Red 1 biodegradable cleaner on the rag. I don't put it right on the work because what will happen is if it gets on the work, you're going to see it, it's going to spot. You're going to clean it, and you could end up seeing spots in the finish. I really don't want that to happen, so I always put it on the cloth. Sometimes I'll pour it out in a bowl, and I'll dip my cloth in the bowl. Just depends on the job I'm doing and what I'm working with. Also, I use some 4-0 steel wool when I'm cleaning, always rubbing with the grain. So let me show you how that goes. I'm going to come a little bit closer here so you can see on this side and do some cleaning over here. So you just wipe it on. Yep, you can see that. See that? And I cleaned this already. There's a lot of dirt on there. So this is how well this cleaner works. It's absolutely amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a quarter of it, get it kind of wet, and then I'll steel wool it, and then I'll wipe off the excess with a dry cloth. I never like to let it air dry, because if you let it air dry, it might turn white. That the dirt that you clean off, if you let it dry on there, it turns white. And so I like to, after I apply the Red 1 and then scrub it, then I wipe it dry. Okay, let me get a little bit more on here. So I take it, I go from here. Now there's a little bit of a molding here. I usually just get my finger in there and rub it hard to get the Red 1 down in there. And this is a quarter of it, and so it's on there pretty wet. I just want to show you how dirty the cloth is. And now what I'll do is I'll scrub it with the steel wool, always with the grain. You have to remember to always go with the grain. And when you can take that steel wool and fold it and fit it right into the molding. Then open it up. Give it a good rub. Yeah. And then I dry it. Make sure it's nice and dry. Yeah, and you can see even some more dirt comes off. So it's getting nice and clean. That's good. So we'll do that a couple of times in that area. And when you have it dirty like that, what I usually do is sometimes I'll have a bowl of water and I'll just squeeze it out in there and rinse it out. But I think I'm just going to open it up to a new face, and we'll get it wet again, and we'll do that same spot just so you can see. I also masked off the inside of the glass because I'm going to have to do the frame on the inside. So I masked the glass off. And one of the other things I did was there was enough space between the mirror and the frame that I could put a couple index cards in. So half of it was open enough that I could do that. So I got index cards in there, and I taped the index cards down. It makes it a lot easier than trying to catch that wood edge all around with the tape. I did have to do that with half of it. But it worked out good. I got it nice and close, and the index cards did the rest. So I'll wipe this off again. And it's dirty. It really is. It's got a lot of dirt on it. Now sometimes what will happen is when you're doing this, you may find that the finish blushes. It kind of turns white. And if it does that, that's because there's a lot of wax and polish on the surface. And the red one gets underneath. It's a surfactant, so it gets underneath the dirt and lifts it out. So if you see that happen, that's why. Because there's a lot of wax on there or a lot of polish. Yeah, it's still pulling off a lot. It's really pretty dirty, so we're going to go over it even again. You have to make sure you get it nice and clean, really important, because we're going to do some French polishing on it. So we want to make sure that it's really clean. Yep, that's cleaning up now nicely. We're getting to the end of what's left on there. Yeah, that's good. Get one more rub with the steel wool. And then dry it off. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, that's a lot better. So now what we'll do is I'll just spin it around to do the next quarter. That way you can see it. Okay. Yeah, I think this part I cleaned pretty well the last time. Before I did the video. So there's still quite a bit of dirt coming off though. Let's give it a good scrub. Let me steel wool it. Now when you steel wool it, it doesn't just remove the dirt that's on there. It removes any shine also because of the abrasiveness of the steel wool, which is okay. Because what we're going to, see that? Look at that. Look at how dirty that is. That cleaner is just amazing. It does a great, great job. You can find all the products that I'm using on my website, kingdomrestorations.com. Please. I'm more than happy to help you with your project. If you decide to buy some of these products and you're not sure about how to use them, the videos will help you a lot. You can always, revisit the video and get a sense of how to do it. And if you're having that really hard of a time, I am more than happy to talk to you on the phone to help you with your project. Not a problem for me. Okay, last cleaning. I had a woman call me the other day, and I was talking to her about using the red one, and I said, you have to be a little bit careful when you have an old piece. You don't want to clean all the dirt off because then it looks new. You want it to have that. You want to have that nice patina on there that makes it what it is. That it's an old piece, but just really well maintained. And so you have to be careful that you don't take all the dirt off. You just want to take most of it off and get it nice and clean and maintained. She was kind of surprised at that. But it's the truth. You have to be careful about how much dirt you take off on some of the older pieces. especially if you have a fine antique, you want to be very careful about how much dirt you take off, because it's taken hundreds of years to accumulate, and that's part of the character of the piece. So it's the same here. It's part of the character. I'm going to add another piece of steel wool to this just to give it a little more body so I can have an easier time rubbing it. Okay. All right, I'm going to do the next quarter. Let's do this section here. After I finish this quarter, I'm going to turn the video off. I'll finish cleaning the whole thing. And then what I'll do is I'll bring you back and I'll show you the damages that are on the surface and how we're going to take care of them, how we're going to smooth them out. We'll sand them down a little bit. Then we're going to use the rejuvenator. We'll get some oil on there to give it, it'll be the flux for us to be able to do the sanding. And you'll get to see more. But I'll do this one more cleaning here, and then I'm going to shut down the camera. I'll finish it off camera, and then we'll be back. Yeah, this one I cleaned really well already, so no steel wool. We'll just wipe it off. I can feel how clean it is. Okay. All right, so I'm going to shut the camera down and I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so I cleaned it completely, and what I want to do is just go around and show you the top of the frame so you can see what's going on here. I want to show you the edge. You can see some damages right there. You can see how the finish has been worn and chipped away. We're going to smooth that out and we're going to color it in. I'm going to show you how to do that. I just want to show you over here also. See, there's a lot going on this edge of the frame. You can see a lot of damages. Here you can, I'm just going to take it around and see what else there is. That part doesn't, there you go, there's some damage right there. All right, so you can see that there's some things going on here that really need to be taken care of. And we'll go over it again really close just after we do the touch-up. You can see some things going on here. That doesn't look good at all. Okay, so we're going to take care of all of that and really, really clean it up. Okay? And now we're going to do the repair work. We're going to do some cleaning up on it with the rejuvenator, and we'll do some sanding. One of the things I wanted to remind you about the Red One biodegradable cleaner, the rags, when you're done with them, you can wash them. You can wash those cheesecloths, put them in the laundry, wash them up, use them again. These are fabulous for reuse. You don't have to throw them away. Just use them, clean them up, wash them with other inconsequentials. You know, you wash them in the, you know, with other rags, and then you can use them again. Okay, with the rejuvenator though, the rejuvenator is a little bit different. This is an oil-based product, petroleum-based, and this product here, with this cloth that you make your application with, you can save this cloth. You can save it and use it over and over again. Put it in a jar and just use it over and over. Now, this is a clean cheesecloth, but I'm going to get the one that I use for oiling off out of my jar. So here's my cloth. It's a little bit yellow, but that's okay. It's still pretty clean. I use it until it has holes in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this has a nice squeeze top, so you can apply it to your cloth. Now what this is going to do is it's going to put moisture back into the surface. It's also going to prepare for the sanding and also for the French polishing. So start with the outside. You just have to wipe it on. Make sure you get it into all the moldings, and get it on the whole surface. You just wipe it on. It's really easy to use because it's just a wipe on, wipe off process. And you'll see some of the things that you thought were going to be a problem will just disappear. And that's an amazing part of it. Always close the top. Never leave the top open because you never know when you're going to knock it over by accident. Okay, we'll do the inside now. Now again, I take my finger and I really push it into all the moldings, all the crevices. You know, just get your finger in there. If they're really deep and you haven't, like a carving, I have these great furniture cleaning brushes. It's a boar's bristle with a fiber ferrule and a wooden handle. No metal on this, and so you can use this also to get it into the deep moldings and into the carvings. You can use this. You find all of these things on my website. And certainly if you want to call me to talk about your project, as I said before, I'm more than happy to talk to you. And that way we can get you exactly what you need for the project. I don't try to oversell anyone. I only want you to have what you need to do the job right. And the little bit that you'll spend in materials will save you a fortune if you had to call a restorer. Okay, so you take the sandpaper. This is a 320 grit silicone carbide. We're going to look for those edges on the top to find where the chips were, and we're going to flatten those out. We're going to sand them out, get them nice and smooth. That's nice. That's coming right out. Very nice. I'll probably just do the whole edge just to give it so that it's treated equally all around, because we're going to end up French polishing the whole thing. So now over here it was pretty bad, so we're going to, and when I get finished sanding it, I'm going to show you just what it looks like. We'll bring the camera in close so you can see the areas where I sanded and just what it did to the wood and how it changed it. Always come back with a little bit of oil. Keep it moist. And always run your finger over, because if you feel something, you know, that feels like it's a little dented, you just come back, give it a little papering, smooth it out. Yeah, it makes a big difference. That's great. Now check the frame, the outside of the frame. See if there's any little spots here. You can when you use the paper, you can use your thumb on the end and just push it in there and give it a little sanding, smooth it out. Yeah, that looks good. There's a little paint here, so we're going to sand that off. Okay, that looks good. Now this joint had some white in it because the finish might have lifted a little bit. So we'll just give that a light sanding just to prepare it, because when we French polish it, the polish is very thin. It's like a water liquid. And so if we push it, we can get it in there, and it'll get underneath the finish, and it'll close the gap, and it'll turn it back to the color of the wood, because it's filling the gap with new finish. Okay. I think the inside looks good. Let's check this out here. Okay, there's a nice spot over here. All right. All right, that looks great. So I'm going to turn the camera off. No, I'm just going to put this stuff away. And now what we'll do is we'll just wipe the oil off. We're not going to wipe it off to remove it. We're just going to wipe it off to get the excess off, because a little oil left behind is just fine. The oil really makes it look great, doesn't it? I can see it's really shining out here. That makes it look great. You can use the rejuvenator, by the way, just by itself. Even if you're not doing restoration work, you can just polish your furniture with it. Wipe on, wipe off, just gives it a beautiful glow. It's fabulous for that. I enjoy using it all the time. This is a formula that my grandfather made, probably back in the 20s and 30s, the 1920s and 30s. We're in the 2020s, aren't we? Yeah. So this formula is probably just about 100 years old, or getting close to it. And we used it all the time. We used to make it up for ourselves. We used to bring it to our customers' houses. They would say, "What are you using on my furniture? What are you polishing? It looks so great. Can I get that?" And you know, after we started selling we would bring in little bottles from home, and we'd fill them up, and we'd sell them for $1, sell them for $2, and then finally I told my pop, I said, "Dad, we gotta buy some regular containers and put a label on and sell these things," and we did, and here we go. This is the end result, and it's a great product. It's great for just general polishing. You want to make your furniture look spiffy without a lot of hard work, without waxing. This will do a great job. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera in, and I'm going to take these gloves off, bring the camera in and show you what got done. Okay, with what we've done, you're going to have a hard time seeing those old damages. As close as we get, you're going to see a little bit right there where we cut through the paper. We'll go by and see if we can find some of the other spots. What has happened, though, is that with the sandpaper, we've really cut through the finish in some places right to the raw wood, like right here. You can see where that's cut through, but it's nice and smooth. And so when we polish it, it's just going to fill that in. It's going to build up, and it's going to look great. You can see some of the spots. This is where we did some sanding hard. Over here is a joint on the top surface. Let's see if I can, yeah, see that? That got sanded, so we're gonna get a little color on that. And then I had to do some sanding on the side, and I want you to see that right there. You can see where it cut through a little bit, and we're gonna have to color that in. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you how we do the coloring. Okay, so I gloved up again, and now I have about maybe a quarter of a piece of cheesecloth that I'm going to use for the French polishing. And what we're going to do is, we're not going to use any color at first. What I want to do is lay down a base of polish. This is my Rocket Pad pre-mixed French polish. Get this on the cloth. Now you're watching this. It's a squeeze top also. And you want to get enough on the cloth that it's wet, but you don't want it dripping wet. So what you do is, you get some on there, and you push it into the cloth, just like I'm doing here. You squeeze it down in, push it in. You don't want it really wet. When you make your application, you want it to, like, you just want to see a vapor trail. You don't want to see it go down wet like a coat you would do with a brush or with a roller where you see a really wet coat, that's not what we're looking for here. We're looking for a very thin coat. So we'll start back over here. Very simple process. You're not, with French polish, you first want to start off with the grain. You just wipe it on, really simple. Goes on really easily, right up to the top. And you move to the next section right away. See, and we're just laying down a really, really thin coat of finish. Really thin. As you feel the cloth drying out, you want to put a little bit more on so that you make sure that you're getting coverage over the whole piece. Always with the grain. In this particular case, no circles yet. We're just going to put it on with the grain. We will put it on in circles in a minute, but just not yet. This first coat, always with the grain. That way it establishes a nice base with no circles. Okay, and now I'm going to do the inside. Boy, that looks gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Now it pulls a little bit of dirt, so you want to refold your cloth. Okay, a little bit more on. Again, not a lot. You don't want to put it on like a wet coat. You'll just have a hard time. It'll just flood and it'll get sticky and you won't be able to work it. So you want to make sure that your cloth is just damp, not wet. You'll see it go on. You'll be able to see the moisture go on, but you don't want to see it go on wet. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in circles. And then straighten it out. You do it in the circles so that you can get a nice finish without any lines in it. You want to be able to see when you put on a finish with the grain all the time, then you develop the little lines just from your application. So then when you go in circles, you break that up, but then you have to straighten it out again. And so in that process, you get a nice flat finish. Okay, here we go again. We'll do this section. Always straighten it out. Always straighten it out with the grain again. Yeah, that's beginning to look really, really good. Okay. Now this is the base. This is what we're doing for a base finish. Because after we get this on, we have enough body that we can put the color on. It helps to be a little bit ambidextrous. That way you can use both hands. When one gets tired, you just come and use the other one. Okay, now this is the last one for the outside. I want you to see how simple this is. This is not hard to do. Now, I know that I make it look easy. I understand that. I've been doing this for nearly 50 years, probably 47 now. So I've been doing it my whole life. That's a joke. Okay, now we do the inside. This works really well on a flat surface also. Like if you're doing a top. Works great if you're doing it on the top. You can see your circles go on there and then you straighten them out. Now, because the top edge had the most damage, I keep going over that extra so that we build it up really nice. Because, you know, when you walk past the mirror frame, that edge has got to really shine beautiful. So we want to make sure we get plenty of body on there. When you make your application, you never just put the rag on and move it. The rag is always in motion. So when you come to make your application, it's like landing an airplane. You just glide in and start. And then when you finish up, you glide off. And that's how you do it. Okay, so we got a base coat on. It looks really great. And now we're going to use a little bit of color. Let's see how I can do this. This is going to be best for you. I think probably right here. Let's see if we can get this in the camera. I'm going to move the mirror back a little bit so that you can see this. Okay. Yeah, you can see that. That's good. All right, so now we want to get some color on the tip of the pad. So we put a little rocket pad up there. Again, you push it in. And this is a walnut color, so we got a lot of orange. You can see the orange in it, and it's got brown. We're going to take this mineral orange. By the way, I sell these color boxes as well. The mineral orange, put that on there and use a little bit of perfect brown. Get that in there. And then you always take a piece of sandpaper and the back of it, and you check your color that way. You just put your color on there and then you match it up to what you're working on. Now that could be a little bit more brown, so we're going to put a little bit more perfect brown on there. Wipe it in, and you'll see that that is really close. Okay, so again, push it in. And what I'm going to do is just going to wipe this top really easy. I'm not going to try to, and I'm going to do the whole thing. Where it's a little light, I go over it a couple of times. It shades it in. Okay. sometimes you just got to do a little dabbing. And sometimes you just have to go over it a few times, just real gently, just barely touch your cloth to it, so that the color transfers from the cloth to the work. Really carefully. All right, we're going to put a little bit more color on. Got a little bit extra orange on there. That walnut is very golden. It's really pretty. And you don't want it too wet. You just want to be able to leave a little color behind. That looks good. So I'm going to move this color box out of the way because I want to do this whole edge here. Because I have some spots in here that I want to get. You want to do this with the grain also. When you're doing the coloring, you want to follow the grain. Wherever the grain is leading you, you want to make sure that you follow the grain. And sometimes you can do a little bit of padding, a little patting. You pat the color on and just stretch it out a little bit to make sure you get the color on there. Now we missed a little color up here. I'm going to put a little bit more. Yeah, that looks good. And then we'll stretch it through. And then over here, we had that problem with cutting through. And so we'll dab this as well and stretch it in. I'm sorry you can't see what I'm seeing here, but it's this is tricky. I need a little more color, so I want to do it where you can see it. See, sometimes you can put a little bit of color on, but sometimes you need a lot of color in order to cover. And so you want to be really careful about when you put a lot of color on, because it could turn into a blotch and then it looks terrible. If that happens to you, then what you have to do is you have to make the blotch look like wood. So then you have to run a little bit of graining through it. That might be for another video. But for now, we're just going to get a little color on this spot here. Kind of glide it through. Yeah, that's good. Hide that in there. That's good. Now, it looks like a lot of color on there, but it's really not. There's really hardly anything coming off at this point. Well, there's some color coming off. You can see what's on there. Okay. Well, really gently, I'm going to put a little color on it. Really gives you a little bit of an enhancement without blocking out the grain. Okay. All right, so we've got the repairs done. We've got the color on. And now what we're going to do is we're going to clear coat over the top of it with the same rocket pad. We'll just take this and we'll seal in the color with a fresh coat of French polish. And we're going to do this, no stopping and starting, just going to go right around, do the whole thing. That looks beautiful, really awesome. All right, I'm going to, I'll bring the camera over so you can take a look at it. Okay, so you can see what's going on. We'll go over the top edge here. You can see a little bit. Yeah, look at that. That looks great. Looks really good. Let's come around. Now that's a joint, and it's not white. That's the reflection of the light in there. Here we are around here. And I'll take you down to the side so you can see that edge. So you can see where it was damaged, but you can't see that it's missing color now. Let me see if I can turn it a little bit better. There we go. Yeah. That looks really good. That looks good. That's great. Okay, so we've taken care of all of the damages. So you have to remember what I told you earlier, that it is an old piece. It's getting near to be 100 years old. And so when you make those repairs, they're not always going to be perfect. What they have to do is be acceptable for what the piece is and what's going on with it. And so what we've done here is we've made this piece look like it was incredibly maintained over its lifetime and just looks wonderful. And that's where this pretty much ends. I want to thank you so much for watching my video. And if you have any questions, as I said in the video, you can give me a call. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. And hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I make a new video. And thank you, and God bless you.